with this, let me introduce to all of you. We have joined by a very special guest for this session, Colonel B. Venkat, Director AICTE. Welcome, Colonel B. Venkat. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Savit Goswami. It's absolutely an honor indeed that I have been invited to be speaking. Professor Punia would surely have loved to be coming and speaking here. So on his behalf, I'm here.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll hand over the session to Mr. Raghav, who is the MD Indian APAC Coursera, because you're talking about the digital resilience in the higher education system. So over to you, Raghav.
Thank you, Shavik. Could you confirm once how long do we have, Colonel Venkat and I?
15 to 20 minutes.
All right, perfect. Good morning, Colonel Venkat. Pleasure to meet you virtually on this platform, and it's a real privilege to be speaking to you and anchoring this piece of the session. As Shavik said, we have about 15 minutes, and there were 3-4 questions that I was broadly hoping to cover and get your thoughts and your insights. I wanted to firstly start out by complimenting some of the work that you and AICTE have been doing through the pandemic in supporting higher education. In April last year, we reached out to the AICTE as Coursera and said we wanted to make our platform available to all colleges and students in the country. And AICTE supported that, sent out communications to all colleges and in the country, and we saw massive adoption over the next 6-8 months. So compliments to you and your colleagues for that to get us started. So let's start with the first question, and I'll keep these simple so that we can really get some of your thoughts and your insights. Just looking back, if you were to look at what have we all learned through the pandemic, what would be your take on what have been some of the key learnings from a technical education standpoint that we have learned from the pandemic?
Thank you, Raghav Gupta, for actually speaking, calling, and left AICTE representing their opinion. And having said this, the question which you clearly put across is as to what did we learn during pandemic and how we take it forward in case of a higher technical education. The pandemic for surely taught us one thing, and that is that education cannot be stopped at any cost. Irrespective, whichever the situation can be, it has to continue. So we need to be aligning ourselves to the needs, and the only thing which is going to sustain is remaining current, alive to the situation around us. That implies involvement of technology or leveraging the technology which is available towards imparting technical education. So having said this, be rest assured that the first time over the last 1 year when people actually understood the real meaning of an online platform. But what change we saw from March, April 2020 to today, in a short span of time, having been thrust upon ourselves, this particular education system has aligned to the online. And online does not only imply that we're coming together and speaking on a platform like this, it implies imparting education in the form of curriculum content, imparting online training in the form of MOOCs courses, imparting online education by having certain bridge courses, and having courses on it, also having an assessment being carried out in an online manner, aligning yourselves to the industrial requirements, aligning yourselves to the international needs. So all this 1 year has actually taught us something which was at the back burner, wherein for a lot of time on files, and something which was continuing, albeit at a pace which was not that commensurating to the changes. It was possible in an online method, and it was possible leveraging the technology. And what a wonderful thing that during the same time that the ministry also rolled out the National Education Policy 2020. And when you read the National Education Policy 2020, there are very wonderful chapters which talk about technology. Leveraging technology to its maximum potential. There is one full topic on this. Number 2, imparting education in online and ODL. And who are the people who are impacted? Let's talk about in next half a minute or so. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are the students, the institutes, the society, the parents, and the most important, the faculty members. And our partners who are there giving us the technology. So if I sum it up, the most important being the faculty, National Education Policy also talks about providing a value-based education towards utilization of technology for leveraging. So AICT aligned ourselves. We rolled out the new approval handbook, which has just been rolled out for the year 21-22. If you go through the approval handbook, so clearly we mentioned that online and ODL courses have been allowed. We have given permission to online ODL. Only thing is we do keep the sensitivity in mind, and we have allowed for MCA, travel tourism, we have allowed for logistics, and we have also allowed in engineering specific in AI and data science, which do not require a hands-on experience subject to meeting certain base criteria. So we have aligned ourselves to various necessities, keeping in time as to what has happened during this period and as to how this online has to come into our curriculum.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I really like the point that you started with, which is education cannot stop at any cost. And I think that was really setting the tone for how you approached it. And then you spoke about how online has played a big role, but it's not about just communication on online platforms, but it is content, it is hands-on, it is collaboration within the country and outside, it is assessments, and so on and so forth. Thank you. Thank you. That's a great starting point for us for this conversation. I'd like to move to the next question. So in our experience, and we were talking about this in the previous panel as well, as we focus on higher education, we're also finding that industry needs have changed a lot due to the pandemic. You know, industry is talking about how they need new skills. I was mentioning our research tells us that many companies are saying that work from home will continue to some extent, even once COVID goes away. Many companies are going more and more digital, you know, within the country, outside the country, and so on. How are you at AICTE planning to incorporate more and more of what the industry is seeing into technical education? How are you thinking about that, and what might be some of the plans there?
Yes, that is absolutely true. Rather, in case if I take your statement, you know, that this particular time has shown us that the conceptual system of coming to office and working, especially for people who are into technology, is going to revolutionize, and work from home is going to be the norm. More or less, it will be a norm or an accepted reality. Mm-hmm. But for the students, as I heard the Honorable Vice Chancellor also speaking, you know, even though the online education is a means of providing education, and the NEP does say the sentence, somewhere it has to be understood, and we realize everybody should understand that face-to-face learning is a mandatory aspect for ensuring that our students develop holistically, rather than just becoming, you know, a specialized or a specialist in a particular discipline. So there is going to be a balance and mixture, and as and when the NEP starts getting implemented, or we keep following the path laid down, and the multidisciplinary higher education institutes or universities do come in at a later point of time with relatively larger autonomy, the curriculum content would be designed by the respective universities, which will be aligned to the needs of imparting education in online, face-to-face, or in blended. Where we are and how do we see that this momentum will be maintained, and what we are going to do for this particular learning which we have learned over a period of time, and industrial connect. We have a wonderful system which just got released. AICTE has just mandated that for taking up engineering, you need not be specifically taking up physics, chemistry, maths in your school education. That is at the secondary level. I'm using the terminology which is being coming in the National Education Policy. 9, 10th, 11th, 12th is called secondary level. So we have said that sentence very clearly. The purpose of this is we are aligning to the industry requirements. We do not want students only from physics, chemistry, maths to come into engineering. There is an engineering subject called as agriculture, biotechnology. There is no necessity to be taking a full-fledged maths, physics, and chemistry. You can always take it as a bridge courses later on. That is number one. Number two, we have got a fantastic NEET portal at AICTE, National Education Alliance for Technology. This is 100% aligned to the industrial requirements based on this portal, in association with one of the most prominent EdTech companies in India and abroad. We've been able to provide phenomenal amount of internship to our students, thereby satisfying or meeting the requirements of the industry. Now, this is a win-win for both. Industry gets the students for which they were looking for. We are in a position to enable to place our students into industry and let them come out with their learnings. We have also said that for the purposes of connecting with industry, rather than institute now going to industry and finding out students who are best suited for them for the purpose of placement, we have come out with another project which is called a Students Learning Assessment. Now, this is nothing which I'm speaking has come overnight. This is an activity which germinated after our interaction with Stanford University and NPIU, and where we carried out a survey and we found out over a period of time that the student across India as compared to the rest of the world, students were found wanting in certain set parameters as compared to their age level with students of the other world. Having taken forward that recommendation, AICTE is now in the process of rolling out an assessment having a massive question bank comprising of course-specific subjects and aptitude-specific subjects. Now we are offering this on our website. We will be giving it to each and every institution for them to assess their students periodically with absolutely no tension and no concern or worry for an examination. They need to understand the level of the students, and then intervention needs to be carried out to ensure that gradually, when the test is taken again and again, assessment is carried out, a student reaches the desired level and end state which meets the industrial requirements, so that at the end of his graduation, it is not the industry which is going to come and select him for the purposes of campus placement. It will be we who would be telling that our student is most ideal suited for you for this specific job and profession. Amongst this, there are many more activities which we are taking. These are one of the few highlighted standpoint activities which we have initiated.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, and that's really good to hear. I'd like to move to at least two other questions given the time that we have. And in the previous panel as well, the gentleman from IIT Kanpur raised the point around access. And I know, AICTE, and you have spoken about quite a bit as well, but I'd love to get your comments on both access to students who might not have devices and might not have network connectivity. And I know there are a number of initiatives underway. If you could talk about those, and what are the plans here? What are some of the successes? That would be wonderful as well.
Right, correct. Absolutely. I was hearing the previous talk also, and access is now the first and foremost thing. In case if we do not make our students comfortable with the ecosystem and provide them the basic required infrastructure, or for that matter, even access to a basic education, there is no point, speaking and telling them that I'm going to make him a world-class student or my institute is going to be world-class. Now, this is the basic thing which each one of us understand. Right from the beginning, with student as the central and the focus point of attention, AICTE has come out with many initiatives towards making our students rise to the occasion. It is not that we are just giving him basic necessities and we leave it at that. We keep following, we keep ensuring that over a period of time he reaches where it is desired. We have financially funded schemes like Pragati and Saksham. When I talk of Pragati scheme, it is basically for girl child with an economically weaker section. National Education Policy does rename the terminology as SEDG, socially economically disadvantaged group. So in case if suppose we address that group, we have a scheme of Pragati. In case 5,000 students for the degree and 5,000 students for diploma are being given 50,000 rupees per year as a scholarship. Now this is something which we were doing earlier, 2,000, we have increased it to 5,000, 5,000, 10,000. This is a big incentive for people to come into higher education. Number two, which we give in the Saksham scheme, wherein also we give 50,000 rupees as a scholarship to the children. Here, Saksham by definition implies as Divyang or physically disabled. Government of India mandates 40% disability. Any student, irrespective of the numbers, the upper limit is not mentioned here. Any number of students who are into degree and diploma and classify in this category are also given as 50,000 scholarship. The purpose of this scholarship has been left open. It is liberty of the particular student to spend the money that they desire, they wish. We only give them recommendations. We have another schemes like PG scholarship scheme, wherein the students who are coming into post-graduation, based on their gate entry score and entry level, we give them 12,400 rupees per month as a scholarship to pursue their education. A scholarship's content, the meaning of a scholarship is to enable a student to pursue the education and the dream which he desires. We also felt very clearly that the northeast region of India to a large extent remains disconnected for whatever reasons that they do not come into the mainstream. AICT has got a fabulous kind of an initiative where we have identified IIT Guwahati as the nodal center, and through IIT Guwahati we are actually reaching out to various AICT approved institutes in the northeast to enable that they have the internet connectivity, that they have the power backup, that they have the water conservation, because these were found to be the main areas. So we are funding for these projects which are getting implemented as we are talking. We are already in the process of implementing this particular activity in the northeast. These are just some of the few. Otherwise, the list is endless.
No, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm conscious Shouvik is back and he probably wants us to wrap up shortly. I'd love to come to my last question, which is a forward-looking question. You know, as pandemic hopefully goes away, campuses open, what do you think the future might look like for technical education? And going forward, what role do you think online will play in education in the country?
One single Raghav and Souvik.
I'll just request that our next session speakers are ready. If Colonel B. Venkat can end it in max in 2 minutes. That will be
I was about to finish it in a minute. I'll not take more than a minute, including.
No, I'll give you 1 more minute.
Also. Let me assure you one thing. The pandemic can come and go. We can further come into another set of pandemics for all the nature so desires. Education is something which, as I always say, cannot be stopped ever. We cannot be stopped, and with governing bodies like where we are today, with the able support of various partners like what you are, and with the government's initiative of making India a global hub as far as the national education policy is concerned, India will be one of the global leaders, or in fact, the global leader as desired in education by the year 2035. Be rest assured on that. That is an assurance which each one of us is having here. And as far the online content and the online education is concerned, that is going to stay. It is a proven fact. The year has shown us, the gone year, that the online education supplemented, not directly the only, supplemented online education, whether directly or in blended form, will be there to stay. What best is supposed to be learned, that we need to be understanding the pluses and minuses and incorporating that much only into our content and curriculum, and also making ourselves ready for the future challenges. Thank you, Souvik, and giving me a chance to speak, and thank you, Raghav Gupta. You are wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing your views. And on that note, education cannot stop at any cost, and I think India should be taking its rightful position as a leader in global education. Thank you so much for your time, and really wonderful chatting with you and listening to you. I'll hand back to you, Shouvik. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raghav Gupta, MD, Indian APAC Coursera, and Colonel B. Venkat, Director AICTE, for shedding some light on very important aspects of technical education and kind of disruptions are happening in the new world order, and what is the future, what lies ahead for us when we talk about building that digital resilient higher education ecosystem. Before I just end, I'll just quickly take 10 seconds because as Colonel B. Venkat has said and Raghav has said, that I was going through a research paper by Stanford University yesterday, and it talks about that online education is going to stay, and it will be playing a supplementing and complementing role, and in some cases, in near future, it will be playing one of the most important role